Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I was tagged by the amazing Lachlan from Locke's Library to do the mid-year Freakout tag. I believe this is the first tag I've done on this channel, so should be a fun time. And I'm not going to spend too much time on these books. I've talked about them on Instagram enough, I feel like, so we're just going to jump into it, and if you want to answer these questions, then please feel free to do so, and let me know down below your answers to these questions. I would also like to know. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the first question is the best book of the year so far. So there are a couple of contenders for this question, but I feel like I would be lying if I didn't say God of Fury has been my favorite book so far this year. If you haven't checked out my Legacy of Gods reading vlog, which is the video I posted before this one, go check that out. It is spoiler free. But God of Fury is the fifth book in the Legacy of Gods series. It's an interconnected, standalone mafia dark romance series by Irina Kent. And this is the male-male romance in the series between Nikolai, who is part of the Heathens, and Brandon, who is part of the posh upper society of London crowd. And it's their romance. And as a queer person, it is very rare for me to get super invested in these types of relationships, just because I feel like, not to get too emo, but I don't particularly like to read a ton of romances just because they make me feel sad, honestly. As someone who craves for romantic companionship in life and has a hard time finding it, it's kind of, I don't want to say triggering, because I don't think that's quite the right word, but it is something that doesn't make me feel great. So when I read this, I just felt completely seen and heard by Brandon's character. I absolutely love him. He felt very representative of me and my own personal issues. And I really identified with him right away. And then we have Nikolai, who is his love interest, who is very unhinged, very diabolical. Not diabolical, but he has a very violent, very fist first, talk later type of personality. And just his devotion to Brandon was just so beautiful, and it was healing to me in some parts, honestly. Because dating's hard, finding people to love you is hard. So when you have someone that's as unhinged and as obsessive as Nikolai is about Brandon, it's not quite healthy, but it is something I absolutely loved about his character, because I don't know, I think we all deserve some epic obsessive love, to a healthy degree, so yeah, I absolutely love them, and I've read it seven times this year, just within the last 3 months. So, oh no, I have read it 8 times. I just listened to it again. See, I'm losing count. But I absolutely love this book. It is my favorite Rena Kent book I've read so far, and I'm excited to read more of her dark romances as she releases them. So this is definitely my favorite book of the year so far. All right, the next question is the best sequel of the year so far, and that is hands down Echo Fort by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is the second book in their Sins of the Zodiac series, which is set in the same world as Zodiac Academy, but it is a completely separate place. You don't have to read Zodiac Academy to read this series, but they are the experts in ripping your heart out and making you feel so intensely about characters and character situations. If you want true enemies to lovers, this is the series for you, and it just gets worse as time goes on in terms of the enemies becoming enemies, and then you don't know who you're supposed to trust, you don't know who's going to be your love interest. There's a lot of what ifs going on in this series, and that's something I absolutely love about the Twisted Sisters. That's why I fell in love with Zodiac Academy so quickly. So yeah, I absolutely love this. I flew through it, and of course it leaves you on such a cliffhanger. And the next book is Cinder Vale, and I believe it comes out in February. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I loved this book so much. The characters are so cool. Vesper and Everest, who are our two female main leads, are they're so different than Darcy and Tori, but like they are spiritual successors, I feel like. They definitely have like elements of them that we love and adore, and but they're completely their own characters as well. So I absolutely love them, and their love interests are, I mean, it is what it is. And then by the ending of this book is for one pairing in particular, I'm just like, oh God, oh no. So yeah, it's rough, but it's such a fun time. I absolutely love this book. It is by far the best sequel I've read this year. All right, the next question is your most anticipated book for the second half of 2025. I'm doing two books for this one because I just couldn't choose between them. The first one is Alchemized by Sin Lin Yu. This is formerly known as Manacled in the Hermione fan fiction world. And it's a very, very dark romance. I actually read Manacled, or most of Manacled. That's a book that I have to take in small doses. So I've been reading it for the past like year and a half, which is dragging it out too long, honestly. But like, I have to pace myself with it, but I adore it so much. I would love to have it done before Alchemized comes out, but we'll see. This is the traditionally published version. It is no longer following Draco and Hermione, but Sinlin Yu's own original characters. She built a whole world. It is based off of Handmaid's Tale. There are going to be some Harry Potter inspired aspects to it, I believe. So yeah, I'm very excited about reading this to see what this new interpretation of the story is, because I really love what I've read of Manacled. And then the second one is by far Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is the second book in the, what's it called? I don't know, the Quicksilver series. I can't remember what the name is. But I loved Quicksilver. It was my favorite book of 2024, which is surprising considering I read it twice last year. And the first time I only gave it 3 stars, but then I reread it and gave it 5 stars. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where Saris and Kingfisher end up, because Quicksilver left us on a pretty big cliffhanger. So I am very intrigued to see where that story goes and to see what Callie Hart has in store for us. So those are my 2 answers for my most anticipated. All right, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but the next question is the most disappointing read of the year so far. I've ranted about this a couple of times on my Instagram. I haven't talked about it on YouTube, but and we're not going to spend too much time on here because I don't want to spend too much time on negative emotions. But by far, my most disappointing book of the year so far was Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the 3rd and final book in the Powerless trilogy, which is a trilogy I was fully invested in. I love Powerless. I loved Reckless. Really did not like this book. I don't like where our story went. I don't like where certain characters went. One in particular I'm just thinking about is really making me angry. And yeah, we're not gonna spend too much time. Like I said, this is the most disappointing book. Like, very soul crushing. All right, my next question is the most surprising book of the year so far. And I have to give it to Whirlwind by Kayla Gross. This is a storm chaser romance between a professor and his student. So check trigger warnings if that's something that you're not into. But I didn't mind it, especially with the way like things ended. But if you didn't know, I'm actually a storm chaser. Twister is my favorite movie of all time. This is very Twister coded. And also Twisters, the film with Glenn Powell. is also heavily inspired by that. But what I loved about this is all the meteorological aspects of the story were very well done, very well researched. Kayla Gross really did her homework, and you can tell. Since I am involved in that community, I was really able to understand what was happening here, and like their science project and everything going on was stuff that I have read about and have seen happen out in the field, which is so exciting. And it was exciting, like the storm chasing aspects of this, like the tornadoes themselves were so cool. I loved it so much. It felt very on point with the adrenaline rush you get from watching Twister, or if you're a storm chaser, you get those same vibes. I've read it twice. I absolutely loved it. And I would really love to pick Kayla Gross's mind about her research process with writing this, because I was very impressed, especially with the storm chaser lingo, the technical terms for clouds and weather models and all that stuff was just very, very fun for me. And that very rarely happens in the more pop culture entertainment aspects, that when they try to portray storm chasing is usually not entirely right. Even Twister and Twisters don't get things 100%. But she did such a fantastic job, and I loved this book so much. All right, the next question is a book that made me cry. No competition. Sunrise on the Reaping by Susan Collins, the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. This follows Haymitch's story and his games. This was so tragic. Like, I feel like it's a whole experience. You have to read this book in order to really understand what I mean. But like, you go through it. Like, Susan Collins really loves to play with your emotions and rip them out. Yeah. I don't know what else to say because I don't want to spoil anything. But like, this book rips your heart out into a million pieces. And I sobbed quite hard at the end. I do have a reel somewhere on my Instagram that shows my reactions to this book. But yeah, if you want a good cry, this is the book that'll do it for you. All right, the next question is the best book to movie adaptation. So I've only seen one this year, and it was Clown in the Cornfield, and that's based off of the book Clown in the Cornfield by Adam Caesar. This is a slasher horror novel set in a small town in Ohio, I believe, where a killer clown is going around and killing people. So very classic slasher, very reminiscent of like Scream or Halloween. I absolutely had a lot of fun with this film. It is a little bit different than the book. But again, I had a lot of fun with it. The acting was fine. It was very like C movie average, viewing. But I had a lot of fun with it. And if you're interested in that type of thing, I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I do need to read the other books in the trilogy in case they decide to make more. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie. The next question is a book that made me happy. So this is kind of a hard question because like I feel pretty happy anytime I finish a book. And I didn't want to use God of Fury again because that book does genuinely make me so giddy and so happy. But I went ahead and went with Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. This is her romantasy debut. It has monsters. It has a very traditional romantasy vibe and story to it. So, I mean, you're not getting anything completely new here. But I eat romantasy up like it's nothing. Even if we're recycling the same plots each time, I eat it up. There is like a arranged marriage situation going on in here, which is also a lot of fun. And I really liked our characters. The monsters in this are really cool. The magic's really cool. I'm very excited to see where we go because we did leave on the cliffhanger. And I had a lot of fun reading this. I had a lot of fun messaging my best friend about it. And yeah, we just had a vibe and I enjoyed it. So I would say this book made me quite happy. All right, the next question is, or it's the last question actually, is books you need to read before the end of the year. So I'm trying not to pressure myself too much because pressuring myself makes me go into reading slumps. So I'm trying not to do that, but it's hard. But first and foremost, we are going to read Rest of the Stars, which is the last book in the Zodiac Academy series. I am reading this soon. I just read 8.5 Beyond the Veil. And I'm ready to jump right into this and wrap this story up, which I'm very sad about. I've been dragging this on for almost 3 years now. And I'm very sad to say goodbye to these characters because I love them so much. But it's time. But yeah, this is my number one priority. And then following that, I do have another answer. Or actually, I have two more. Is Dawn of the Cursed Queen by Amber B. Nicole. This is the third book in the Gods and Monsters series. The first book being the Book of Azrael. And I absolutely love this series so much. It is an urban fantasy. Love it to pieces. Our characters, Diana and Liam / Samkiel, are incredible. And the fourth book, The Wrath of the Fallen, comes out in October. So I am actually going to be rereading all the books. Well, 1 and 2 are the only ones I've read. And then finally read this so I can read Wrath of the Fallen when it comes out, which is also a very anticipated book. I don't know what happens in the third one yet, but I am very invested in this series, so I am looking forward to that. So yeah, this is going to be done sometime this year. And then I am also reading Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I've been reading this for like a month now. I'm loving it. I just have to, kind of like Manacled, I have to take it in small doses because it's a lot. And I love it so much. Like, Gabriel is an incredible main character. And I want to be able to read Empire of the Damned so I can read Empire of the Dawn, which is the conclusion to the series when it comes out this fall. I guess you could also say I need to finish Mistborn. I have The Hero of Ages I need to finish. There's a lot of books that I need to read before the end of the year. But again, I'm just following my mood reading, and we're not going to force ourselves to read a book because I'll end up probably not liking it. So, okay, there's that.